I double checked the schedule, and yes, the NFL is going to make the Chicago Bears and Denver Broncos play a game on Sunday. Thankfully, it'll be one of the early ones. We'll get going. We'll have a good time. One of these teams is going to walk. We assume one of these teams is going to walk out of here feeling somewhat better about themselves. Will it be the Bears? Will it be the Denver Broncos? Well, I went and got the most prominent voice in Broncos media, and I can't wait to get started. So, Sammy, why don't we just go ahead and start the show?
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast with Adam Ray.
Trying to cut it back. Justin Fields making magic happen. There goes Fields. Touchdown.
The sickest Chicago Bears and fantasy football podcast. Brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Sports entertainment like no other. It's gonna be sick.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Sick Podcast with Adam Rank. It is time for Rank's rivals today, although I hesitate to call this guy a rival because a number of years ago, we struck up a friendship. Back when I first started doing my record predictions, I did not put a good prediction on the Denver Broncos. He went out there on his wildly popular YouTube channel, That's Good Sports, and roasted me, to which I responded on Good Morning Football, telling the world that the most talented content creators no longer make movies. The next Kevin Smith is not making Clerks. He's making diss tracks of me on YouTube. So let's bring him on right now. Brandon Perna is going to be joining us here today. And Brandon, oh my gosh, so good to see you.
What's up, Adam? It's good to see you. You know what's sad is I think your prediction that year wasn't even that far off. When it was all said and done, I came in hot because I still believed in my team as a football fan. And since then, just losing record after losing record after losing record. And I feel like Bears and Broncos fans, specifically heading into this season, are experiencing very similar levels of pain.
Oh, yeah.
And last year, more for Broncos fans, where our expectations were really high after getting Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
Tricking ourselves into thinking we're just a quarterback away, stung. And I saw that with Bears fans.
Oh,
Fields,
God.
There's a lot to be excited about last season with Justin Fields, with the offense. It was fun. Had this crazy offseason. And it's the same. We're both 0-3. Our teams don't look good, and we're searching for something, and now we get to play each other, and it's poetic almost.
It is, and the color scheme's the same, and it's all the best. Like, we go to Rip Beer Company in Southern California to go watch the games on Sunday morning, and they made special Rip Beer Company t-shirts with orange. They're blue and orange. So, like for people who just, they want to be there. They might not be a Bears fan, but they want to support or whatever it is. And last week I was wearing one, and I'm like, I can't even escape because people are either like, you're a Broncos fan or you're a Bears fan, and your life sucks right now. Yeah. And I go, it really does. The thing that strikes me the most is that over the last couple of years, when Russell Wilson first decided, like, I don't want to be in Seattle anymore, one of the four teams that he mentioned was the Chicago Bears. And we were in. Like, yeah, we would have made the same deal that you guys made. I was thoroughly convinced like that was the way to go. In addition to that, when Sean Payton was available, again, the Bears are hiring a coach. Like, why not bring in Sean Payton? Like, this would be such a good thing. And now watching you go through it right now, it's not great. But in 70 points aside from last week, you guys have to feel a little bit better. I know that's terrible, 70, but you guys have to feel a little bit better. Like, Russell at least looks better.
Oh, yeah. No, Russ has played well. That's what's weird about everything. He's still getting blamed for it, but he's played a lot better. And just one more link between the Broncos and Bears, like the Broncos could have drafted Justin Fields.
Yes.
And I wanted them to draft Justin Fields. We go Pat Surtain, great pick. She's great, but there's been some ties there. But Wilson, the offense does look better. It's hard to be excited about that when your defense gives up. It's quite literally the worst defensive performance in NFL history, because we went back for like a short we worked on and learned those other 70-point games had either a special teams touchdown in there or a defensive score. So the Broncos defense actually gave up the most points,
the most touchdowns.
So it was, it's a tough pill to swallow as a fan.
Yeah.
After your defense has kind of been the bright spot on your team for the last several years, suddenly it's just not there anymore. And now that your offense is kind of clicking, it doesn't matter. It's just like whatever you do, it's going to be wrong.
Is it Vance Joseph? Because I wrote in the offseason doing my State of the Franchise series is like, this is not unprecedented for Denver to bring in a former head coach to lead the defense. And the last time you did it, it was Wade Phillips, and you went on and won Super Bowl 50. So I'm like, I don't know. Does this mean they're going to win the Super Bowl? Coming into the year, I was pretty convinced you guys were going to make a run. I thought, if I remember correctly, I had you pick to make the playoffs as the number 7 seed. It's shocking to me how bad the defense is. How is it? How is it so bad?
I don't know. It's everything. There's some injuries there. There's not a formidable pass rush. Tackling is clearly an issue. Is 24 missed tackles in that game. So it's like everything is bad. You can't put it on one position group. If we just fix this, they're going to be competitive. I've literally never watched a regression this bad. Vance coming back too is weird to me. And I did the same, tried to convince myself that it was going to be okay.
Yeah.
Because when Elway brought in Kubiak and Wade Phillips, I was like, he's just hiring his buddies. Right? And then you win a Super Bowl. That was obviously the right call. I was like, maybe it'll work again. I just don't think Vance has had the track record of success as a defensive coordinator to justify that hiring. And now I almost think he's better suited to actually be a head coach versus a DC, because I think what he offers, I think players like him. I think they like playing for him.
Yeah.
I just don't know if he's helping put together the best game plan schematically and getting his team, his unit in the best position to win. But I think as a head coach, you could trust 2 coordinators to do it. So yeah, I don't know, man. I'm so I said this last year and I didn't think it would get worse, Adam.
Yeah,
I knew I felt football dumb. I felt like I'd never understood less about the game last year, and now it's even worse. I'm just I don't get it. I don't understand any of this.
Nothing makes sense. Typically going through, we do game picks for NFL.com, and the first couple of weeks, it's kind of a feeling out period where you're like, okay,
right.
I might have overestimated this or underestimated this team. There's a lot still that seems unknown. And I think 2 of the biggest unknowns are our 2 teams that are going to be playing this week. And it's just shocking to me. As you were sitting there talking about regression, I've never seen regression. I'm like, well, you're going to get an opportunity to see Justin Fields this season because it feels like the Bears have just abandoned him. I'm just stunned by the Broncos and how this never seems to work out. I don't know if John Elway was this guy who won a game of Madden just button mashing, just not knowing what he's doing, just mashing a bunch of buttons, and then we won, sick. And then he's trying to do it again, and it's never working because, once again, you're trying to recapture the magic with Vance Joseph, and it just feels bad.
Yeah. Well, luckily, Elway's not making any of the calls anymore. So we got to start looking at George Payton, and I don't know about Sean Payton yet. I don't know about their collective decision-making. We've got new ownership. So it's a lot of X factors in there. I don't know what their process is, but I guess my question for you specifically about watching the Bears, because it felt like kind of after the Ryan Fitzpatrick called out the Bears coaching staff on Thursday night last year, it was almost like they listened to him. Because it was the next week, they're like, okay, we'll let Justin run. And it works because that's what you can do in the NFL now. You can have a young quarterback who's incredibly athletic. You can lean into that and give him time to develop as a passer. Yeah. And it felt like they figured it out. And then they went back to trying to force him to be a player that he's not ready to be yet. And it hasn't worked again. Do you feel like it's more on their approach or that Justin just might not actually be the guy?
It could be both. I mean, both things could certainly be true. And then you're speaking of that game last year against the Commanders. The good news is the Bears play the Commanders next week. So we might be 0-4 when we have to go on our mini bye and turn things around. But that was the thing. And I think that's a big reason why so many Bears fans were convinced that this season was going to be a lot different, because even though the Bears were losing last year, the games were fun. They're scoring a ton of points. The defense is letting up a bunch of points. They're like, okay, well, at least we're fun. And then it gets to a certain point of the season where you're like, you know what? I'll be honest with you. Like, as long as Justin Fields goes out there and puts up 30 points and we're losing to get us better draft capital, I'm kind of into this. To the point of in week 18 last year at our spot watching the Bears game, we switched to the Texans. We were like, okay, we're gonna blow. We're gonna lose to the Vikings. This is fine. Let's focus in on the Texans. Right. They got the number 1 pick for us. And you thought with DJ Moore coming in, you're like, okay, well, they realized like they needed a big time playmaker. Let's run that offense where we're running like more power, keeping the ball on the ground. But no, they wanted to do the other. Like, I don't know why they try to convince yourselves. Like, I don't know, if you bought a Corolla and you're like, I'm going to go out street racing, you're like, it's not going to work. Like, you have this built for a certain way. And that's kind of the way the Bears have approached things. And I don't know, like, I don't think that they're sabotaging. I just don't think that they know what they're doing. You bring in a guy who's an offensive, who the one things with these coaches, like when Sean McVay had success with the LA Rams initially, it's because he brought in Wade Phillips to be like, you run the defense, you know what you're doing. You're an established coordinator. You've been a head coach. You've won a Super Bowl. Go do your thing. I'm going to focus on the offense. Matt Eberflus, first-time head coach. If he wants to focus in on the defense, great. Bring in an experienced offensive coordinator, not necessarily Greg Roman, but somebody like that. It makes no sense that you would go out there and grab a coordinator who's like was Aaron Rodgers' buddy. Like, didn't we learn from Adam Gase? Like, this is what it's all playing off to be. Like, I'm now longing for Adam Gase, but it feels that way.
I said the same thing. I said I think it was after that loss, I was like naming coaches that I would want, and it was like defensive coordinators, right? I was like, well, go get Rex Ryan, go get Wade Phillips. I bet he would come back. I was like, can Adam Gase coach defense? Because I'll take a chance on that. I'll take a chance on that again. We've reached Adam Gase level. That's
where it's at. We're longing for Matt Nagy. Like, we're like pining for, like, remember how great Matt Nagy was? That kind of thing. Speaking of great, by the way, I want to let everybody know, bench warmer brew. We pick it up now. You said you were kind enough to send us something like, this was really good. Nice. So I like the support. I should have thought enough, but go to Google awesome. Bench warmer brew. It is really great product. So I meant to tell you that right off the top, but
we just launched a new blend this week. I don't think I can say the name, but it is,
is that pumpkin in it?
F the Refs blend.
Yeah. I just saw that online.
It is bold. It is our boldest, darkest brew. It's really good.
I just saw that.
Shout out there.
No. I appreciate you. It's cool. Like, I like that you're taking on that adventure, because I love coffee too. So it's like really, it speaks to me. I keep trying to get Sammy. I go, Sammy, we got to start doing coffee as well. Brandon's killing the game. But in any event,
I can get, if you want coffee, I can get you one.
Oh, listen. Business. I want to support you. I can
get the rank blend.
The point of it is to support your friends. Like, one freebie's fine, but like at some point you're gonna be like, hey, this is our friends. Like, it's our business. Like Matt Harmon does reception perception. And for years I used to bug him like, hey, can you send me something? And he's like, okay. And I'm like, I should just buy it. Like, if I'm going to use it, I just buy it. Just support my friend. Like, why give money to PFF? Although Chris Collinsworth's my friend, and that was a sick name drop. But I do want to ask you though, Sean Payton though, through 3 games, are you still cool with him? Because I still like Sean Payton. I don't think that it's a lost cause or anything, but how are you feeling about Sean Payton overall?
I've got mixed feelings about Sean. I think he's a good offensive coach, and I think we've seen that immediately. And I think I'm very comfortable with him being the head coach and being in charge of the offense. I think he's in a weird spot where he's had enough sustained success in the NFL where I think he thinks he knows too much. And I think the Vance Joseph hiring to me is unless like it's the 4D chess everybody's talking about, and we are tanking for Caleb Williams, and we get Caleb Williams, and suddenly we have a good defense. I didn't understand that move then. I didn't understand the Broncos they made zero effort to retain Ejiro Evero. Like he was on contract. They let him go because I don't think he felt like they wanted him to be there. And he was a very good defensive coordinator, a young defensive coordinator. They could have even promoted him to give him a better shot to be a head coach a season or two later. Like those decisions didn't make sense to me. And some of even like the roster decisions, it feels like you just got to do it Sean's way because he knows, because he's had success and he has that right to feel that way. But it's some of those things that concern me. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt, but like even Marvin Mims, our rookie.
Oh my God. That's exactly what I wanted to bring up. Cause like that destroys me that they don't use him more.
He's the dude. He's awesome. It's like you didn't have any picks until end of the second. You got him. He delivers. And I think I just did the stat on it because I did a preview for I think it's 16 snaps a game, something like that, or it's something very low. And just like get him out there more.
Yeah, it is crazy that they don't use him. I actually have, gosh, where did it go? I have something on Marvin Mims as I get out my old man glasses. I've also taken to old man glasses, and I also have old man Vans, as somebody described them to me, because I was wearing the ultra range, like with the big sole. My friend was like, you know what, you're now wearing old man Vans because you can't handle the flat sole. I'm like, oh, and then I sat there and I'm upset for a second. I'm like, no, he's kind of right. I don't know what it really is. I got to find it because I want to. By the way, while I'm doing this, the reason I care so much about Marvin Mims is because I love fantasy football. Yeah. And Underdog Fantasy is the best way to play fantasy football. It's simple to get started. Go to underdogfantasy.com, or better yet, download the app, the Underdog Fantasy app. Not only do you have the best fantasy football app, you actually have a way to get breaking news to your phone. When we found out that David Montgomery was going to play on Thursday night, I found out via the Underdog Fantasy app. And right now, if you go and sign up, first-time users using the promo code SICK, Underdog will match your initial deposit up to $100. Sammy's working on this right now. We're going to start throwing out some best ball contests over the next couple of weeks. We want to get people signed up, and we want to get people playing, and it's a lot of fun. If you've never played best ball, it's the easiest, simplest way to play fantasy football. So Underdog Fantasy, I know Brandon is also a big proponent of it as well. I just found this for Marvin Mims Jr. He's averaging 7.5 yards per route this season. That's the most in the NFL. His 24.6 air yards per target is also the most this season, but somehow the Broncos don't want to use him. Although I will tell you, if you get into a best ball draft with us, there he is, showing our sponsors. If you do get into a best ball draft with us, make sure you take Marvin Mims because he's that good. But that's a thing. That's the hubris of Sean Payton, is that, buddy, like he's like, as lay people, we see this. Why does one of the greatest offensive minds in the world not notice the same thing?
Yeah, it's perplexing. And I think like Russ has done a good job of getting the ball to those guys who get open. And that was kind of like an issue last year where, until Jerry Jeudy kind of emerged late in the season, once we had Jerry Rosberg take over, the adult, as we call him. It felt like receivers couldn't really get open. Like there wasn't that deep shot for Russ that we saw in Seattle all the time, whether it was Lockett or all the guys before him, DK Metcalf.
Mims is Baldwin,
Baldwin. Yeah. Thank you. Like Mims is that guy, and Russ is finding him every time he's open. And it's like, that's exactly who we thought Russ was going to be when he came over here. And it's been a bit of that. And then there's also just, unfortunate things. Like in the Dolphins game, it got out of control because the Broncos had 2 touchdowns called back. One on a really ticky-tacky, like rub route, pass interference. You see it called sometimes. They did. Another was an illegal formation. And Cortland Sutton, out of nowhere, fumbles the ball twice in that game.
Yeah.
So like last year's Melvin Gordon, then we've got Cortland Sutton giving the ball away. So you can't blame that stuff on Sean Payton, really. That's execution. And I guess Vance Joseph probably deserves the same leeway. Like, guys got to play. They got to but so I don't know like I said, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. I'm jaded too at this point with coaches,
Yeah, 100%. I mean, there's a lot of
everybody's been the answer and none of them have. So,
and in your 4D chess scenario, like Sean Payton is going to be there. Like he's going to be there next season. Like there's no way he's going away. And he's done it like we said, like Russell Wilson's looked pretty good. I think he'll start finding Marvin Mims a little bit more probably this week as I'm starting him in every fantasy contest I can play. Smart. The Bears, on the other hand, because somebody mentioned to me, they're like, do you think that Matt Eberflus, like this is like the reason that they regressed with Justin Fields is because they're playing this long game of like, oh, if we tank and get Caleb Williams, I'm like, why does Matt Eberflus think that he should come back next year? Your defense is 32nd, has been 32nd since you're the defensive guy. Like at least if the defense was good and then Matt Eberflus could go out there and be like, hey, like another Stroud thing, but like our defense is keeping us in. No, our defense isn't keeping us in the games. Our offense can't score. Everything all around just stinks. And it's a pretty brutal thing. So I'll ask you, again, you're coming off a historic loss. The Bears loss felt just as historic because we've had to wear the Taylor Swift nonsense. Yeah. So it might as well have been 70 points because every Swiftie who never watched football in their life is now walking up being like, well, that team in blue and the blue pants is awful. And they're, it's hard to defend against it. You're like, oh, you don't know, lady. 18 years before you were born, they had the greatest team of all time. Unfortunately, it hasn't been that way since. What about you? Like going into this, like I don't know. I'm trying to remain positive, but for you, like, do you look at the Bears and you're like, we should win this one?
Yeah, that's what's weird. I think I was just talking to Tom about this, but what's worse, like being the team that just gave up 70 points or being the team that is now underdogs to the team that just gave up 70 points?
The latter, like, definitely the latter.
There's no good way to paint it.
No.
And I think I don't believe NFL teams actually tank. I think anybody who pays close attention to football understands they don't do that. Maybe late in the season, it's like, all right, well, let's start some of the young guys, see what we got type approach. But I'm hoping for it right now. And I've never wanted to admit to tanking, but 0-3. And because Caleb Williams is out there, and the weird part with NIL deals is that's not even a given anymore. Like, if he doesn't want to come out, he can make money and stay in college. So, I don't even want the Broncos to win this week. I don't, because I think long term they've got better options to lose. Yeah, the Bears are in a really nice situation because you have the Panthers draft pick. So.
That was always the hope, too, is that everybody who was saying that the Bears were going to, the Bears will end up with a top 5 pick. And you're like, I think the Panthers will be better than that. We could end up with the first 2 picks in the draft, the way that this thing is going. And so, and the thing with the NIL deals, you have a better opportunity of convincing a player to come out. You're literally recruiting guys now, like it's college. Sean Payton's your coach. I think that's a better sell. That's an easier sell for people. Like, hey, you're going to play with Sean Payton. He's won a Super Bowl. Drew Brees, look at the track record. Even Russell Wilson for this small sample size already this season. The Bears, if we're sitting there with Luke Getsy again, you're like, hey, Caleb Williams, you should come join our team. I don't think that's the sell like Sean Payton.
Yeah, no, I think that's true. But is it still a sell if you're, 1-16, 2 in whatever? I don't know. I mean, if I were Caleb Williams, I'd love to go play for Sean Payton. I'd love it.
Yes.
It'd be the smartest thing I could ever do for myself, Caleb, if you're listening.
Yeah, Caleb, go to Chicago. You could be the next Michael Jordan.
That
Think about
said,
that.
like, yeah. Oh, that is, yeah. Billionaire and
See?
a champion. It's, what was I going to say? I don't remember.
It was something poignant, I'm sure.
It was going to be such a good, oh, it was, no, I forgot again.
You forgot it once again. Well, let's go ahead and pick this. I want to let you, by the way, when you mentioned Tom earlier, that was Tom Grassi who joined us. How is he this morning? Because
He had a rough
that,
morning.
that is the one thing. It's like, it's been so, might be the worst part of the Bears season starting off the way that it is I don't get to enjoy the demise of the Packers and the Vikings, especially the Vikings, which I knew was going to happen. I can't enjoy it. Like, even after the first week one, I tweeted out, like, I would like to talk about this, but like, I'm going to wait 3 hours because I don't want this tweet to come back to haunt me. It would have, even last week on that Thursday, whatever it was. It's like, hey, like, I would love to make fun of the Vikings here, but I can't do it. That's the most troubling thing. And you can't make fun of the Raiders. It's like,
Nope.
That's tough.
Yeah, because the one thing I was sure about was the Broncos would be better than the Raiders.
Yeah.
I was like, the Raiders did not get better, guys.
No.
And they didn't.
No, and the Raider fans were all over me too. Like, we're better than you're giving us credit for. I'm like, all right. Like,
the Raiders extended their win streak over the Broncos too. So it's like 7 straight wins now. And my only defense is, talk to me when you reach the Chiefs win streak against us, which is 14 or 13 or 15.
That's a burn. That's a burn right there.
You can't even beat us 13 straight times.
Yeah. Like, how good are you?
Don't come at me.
So what about this week? Let's go ahead and get this one picked. And by the way, if you are in the Chicago area and you want to watch the game, Game Room Chicago is the place to watch Chicago Bears football games. It is located in the historic Chicago Athletic Association Hotel right across from Millennium Park, and it features billiards, shuffleboard, skee ball, pop-a-shot, and more. And it has plenty of space to watch your favorite game with a menu featuring Michelin-starred chef Mari Katsumura snack foods, beer towers, a weekend Bloody Mary bar, and shareable signature cocktails. Game Room Chicago is the place to be on game day. And if you're ever in Chicago, I will make sure, well, I got to be out there too. If we're ever in Chicago together, we're going to go check it out. It's a great spot. It's very classy. Like, you feel like,
awesome.
you maybe like put on a collared shirt. I don't know if either one of us own one, but we would put on a collared shirt. We would go. But what about this weekend? What is your prediction? Who wins the Caleb Williams Bowl this week? See, that's the thing too, is the Panthers. Oh, you don't. With the Panthers might actually. They might actually. What's the kid's name? Josh Rosen, Bryce Young. If they end up getting the first row. Oh no, they don't get it. It's ours.
Yeah, they can't. They can't even. I think this is actually going to be a good game in terms of like scoring.
Yeah.
So I think it'll be a fun game because if there's any hope for Chicago, their offense, they got to do something. And I think this is a good week for them to do it. So to me, it feels like one of those 27-24 type performances where both fan bases are like, hey, they played better this week. It's because the competition was, not.
I'll take it. Yeah.
Not what it was the week before. And I feel like the Broncos are going to win. So you're going to win the Caleb Williams Bowl. We're going to win the game, and we'll feel worse about that victory.
Yes. Oh, I understand that. But, I look at it the other way. I think this is where the Bears – see, this is going to be the thing. The Bears will win this week. They'll go to Washington. Whatever happens at Washington, then we'll convince ourselves that the mini-bye, hey, if we get to 2 wins after 5 – we're going to go through the whole cycle again.
Yeah.
But it's very disappointing for all of us.
I feel like Chicago has to look at the success Miami had running the football.
Yeah.
And they have got to use Justin Fields to keep the Broncos defense guessing on who's going to run. So he's going to have a big game. But then like Roshan Johnson or Khalil Herbert, whoever, one of those guys was supposed to be getting fantasy points this year.
Yeah. 100%.
And neither have. So I feel like they got to lean into that. Like that's a weakness on the Broncos defense. And I think you guys should have that as a strength. And
I hope so. This week. You know what? Under a normal circumstance, I would be like, another staff would probably look at that and be like, this could be the Roshan Johnson breakout game. Luke Getzey is going to go out there and run a bunch of screens. And we're like, all right, cool. This is great. Glad we're running these with our quarterback who, is still developing. I still believe in Justin Fields, but he still needs to work on some things. But who doesn't need to work on some things? You are doing such a great job. It is always a pleasure to talk to you, to watch you, to enjoy your coffee. Like, I don't know, you're like the Hugh Jackman. You do so many different things well. And so I appreciate you coming on. No, I do. I mean that. I love everything that you do. Thank you so much for your time. I'm glad that we were able to do this, and good luck to you there in the future.
Thanks, Adam. I appreciate that. I appreciate you having me on, and good luck to the Bears this week. And
he actually means that.
I actually do.
I know you do. You're a kind soul, so we appreciate it. All right, so for Brandon, I'm Adam. Sammy, go ahead and play us out. And bear down.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast with Adam Rank on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts. Brought to you by Underdog Fantasy.